Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My name is Miwa. It's my pleasure to be the moderator of our interview session today. We have aricoco, who is the artist behind this wonderful collaborative project, PIPORNOT, and Leah, who is the guest artist of the project. Why don't we briefly introduce ourselves to the audience? Do you want to start, aricoco?
Hi, I'm aricoco. I'll explain about this specific PIPORNOT project, PIPORNOT Division of Labor and Tango. We try to kind of use Tango as a tool or vehicle to explore methods to form a community, like small community, online community in this case. And so each participant is doing a little thing, like moving their legs or doing tango moves. But together makes something a little bigger than us, and this kind of super organismic moves. The whole thing will culminate in a virtual runway performance show sometime in the late winter. But so I'm collecting like recordings of people doing tango or tango inspired movements. We invited you to show us some movements, and we learned some stuff, so now we have to practice and then do some recordings and see what happens. Division of labor is this phenomenon. I asked a biologist what it is. If you check our website, project website here, you can access to his interview video or slide lecture.
Thank you so much, aricoco. And now we'd like to hear from Leah. Would you like to introduce yourself, Leah?
Yes. Hi, I am Leah Barsky, and I'm really excited to be part of this project. I feel very honored to be asked. I'm a professional Argentine tango dancer and teacher. I reside in New York City. I lived in Buenos Aires for the past 5 years, and now I'm back in New York. I've taught and performed throughout the US and South America and Europe. My background is in classical ballet and contemporary dance, and then I transitioned over a period of time into Argentine tango. And so that's really my main focus now. So, yeah.
Thank you. So just briefly about myself, I'm the moderator today, but I'm also the collaborator for this project. I'm an entertainment and arts producer, theater co-director, and then tango dancer as well. I had a good fortune to work with aricoco and Leah in the past as a dancer. Aricoco, then why don't you tell us a little more about the project, and then especially why incorporating tango in this project?
Right, yeah. Why tango? Back in 2015 or 14, I was looking for some practical or universal or visual methods for people to function as a group. The ant colony is female dominant, self-organizing, non-hierarchical society. So I was interested in that because it thrives without the centralized power. And I started talking to Miwa. She told me about this tango. I became curious about how the social dance scene operates. Is a group, is a small community. Well, I didn't know anything about tango, but she informed me it's a matter of improvisation mostly. And I was like, what? It's weird because it almost like really highly choreographed movements, reiteration of patterns. So patterns and patterns and patterns, but you still have a freedom to use patterns. That's what I thought. And then, I lost it.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you, aricoco. So then, let's ask questions to Leah, who is our expert in tango. So why don't we start with the question about how you started dancing tango and about your career path as a professional tango dancer in Argentina and the US and many other countries. What do you enjoy or what do you find challenging?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I've always loved tango for since my teenage years and my early 20s. I love the music. And I was always really inspired by it, but I had no influence, no family members that dance tango, no cultural influences. As I said, I was a professional ballet dancer and contemporary dancer in New York City. And I was working in a company, and one of the other dancers was from Argentina, and he taught tango on the side, like he was in the company, and then he taught tango with his wife, and he also had a small company, and he did kind of a fusion of ballet and modern and tango. And those are really, he invited me to join the company and work with them. And those were really my first, my first introduction into tango. And I really just fell in love with it. And I was really just kind of like swept up by the community in New York. And I would just go to all the classes I could go to. I would go to all the milongas, which are the social dances where people go to dance tango. It's called a milonga. And yeah, so for many years, I was continuing my work in modern dance. I worked with the opera and did things, and I would incorporate the tango work. And I had a partner here in New York for 5 years that I worked with. And it really just grew and grew. And it got to a point where I felt like I have to go to Argentina. Like I felt like a fake. I was like, I can't be a professional tango dancer and teacher and not have been to Argentina. And this was about 6 years ago. I decided I was going to go. My plan was just to go for like 6 weeks to just really my plan wasn't even to work there. It was really just to absorb the culture and just smell the air and walk the streets and go to the milongas and just really absorb the culture, because I didn't feel like I needed more technique. I felt like I needed the missing link for me was the culture, because it's a dance that's so influenced by its history and its culture. It's not just about the technique of the steps. And that's what really felt like it was missing. And long story short, I ended up staying there. I stayed for 5 years. It's where I started working with my partner, who's still my partner. And I danced in big shows there, because in Argentina, we have what we call tango escenario, which is stage tango. So tango has two different categories: tango salon, which is the social dancing, which is what you do when you go out dancing socially, and it's improvised. And stage tango is a choreographed, more technical category of tango. I do both, but I do specialize more in stage tango. And so my partner and I, we danced in many shows there. From there, we got to travel and teach workshops and perform. We did the Tango Mundial every year, which is a big international tango competition. And so it just kind of blossomed. I just, I went there and I fell in love with it, and these opportunities opened, and it really opened my eyes. I realized, oh my God, there's so much here to learn and so much here to do. I couldn't possibly leave after 6 weeks. I really wanted to just go down that path. And it has really, through that experience, opened up doors to, travel, go to Europe and go to other places in South America and come back to the States and really have this foundation of knowledge and just living the life of an Argentine tango dancer, and I do feel very privileged, because when I went there, I started dancing in really the top shows that, those dancers there, they really start from, not to sound, bad, but start kind of from the bottom up. They dance on the streets in an area called La Boca, which is near the port. They dance on the streets, for money in front of restaurants, and then there's kind of lower classes of tango houses, and you kind of build, and it's, a dream, to dance in these big shows. So I felt very privileged, even as a foreigner, to be accepted in that community, because there really aren't many, certainly not North Americans. There may be other people from different areas of South America, maybe Brazil or Chile, but you don't see many Americans or North Americans or Europeans working there.
Could you tell us about some of the cultural elements that influenced the early development of tango, including music and dance in Argentina?
Yeah, Argentina is an amazing place, and it was towards the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, there was a huge influx of immigration. Lots of European middle-class workers were going there to find new ways of life. Argentina was kind of a blossoming country. So you had this big mixture of, European immigrants, indigenous people from Argentina, ex-slaves or descendants of slaves. So you had this huge mix of people, you can imagine all over, their music, their dance, their culture. So it really became this big melting pot. Through that, really, tango was born. candombe, which comes from African rhythms, African dance, that actually started in Uruguay.
Is it next to Argentina?
Yeah, so Uruguay is right across the Rio Plata. It's right across the river, so it's a neighboring country. That was a huge influence for the milonga rhythm, which is a faster paced dance. So we have tango. Milonga is kind of a sect within tango. And if you listen to music, it's the faster music. It has a quicker beat, more of a rhythm. Milonga really comes from that influence of candombe, which comes from African dance, African rhythms. And it's fascinating because it really was considered, it was dance of the slums, and these were usually in poor neighborhoods. The port city area of the city is called La Boca, which means the mouth, and it was where obviously immigrants would come and go, and things would be imported and exported. And it was this huge, center of transit, and but it was also a really poor, kind of the slums of Buenos Aires, and that's how tango really developed there, and it was danced in bars and brothels between men. Men would dance together as kind of a rivalry, and also to practice steps before they would ask a woman to dance. So they would practice with each other and invent steps. There's kind of the violent element, and that kind of, I think, comes from definitely like the machismo influence, but there's also kind of this innuendo of like kind of the pimp prostitute, like that kind of aggressive, which has become outdated, and evolved, but these are, again, the roots. And it was really looked down upon. It was a dance that, like upper class people didn't do, but eventually it did get to Europe. Young Argentine men that maybe came from wealthier families that did dance a little bit of tango went to Europe, and Europeans, Parisians in particular, fell in love with this dance. And then, like, I think it was around 1913 or 19 something like that, it was like all the rage in Paris and in London and in New York. And so that kind of made it acceptable. So, back in Argentina, then the upper class started doing it. It got a better reputation. It was in these like big salons and ballrooms, and not just in, slummy areas. So it's definitely had a big evolution, and certainly cultural influences from all over. Yeah.
So let's talk about today. How do you describe tango communities, today, including community members or community rules or customs? Maybe we can hear both about Argentina and then New York tango communities.
Yeah, it's funny. Argentine tango it really is its own kind of, its own little world, even within the partner dance world. I couldn't compare it to like salsa or swing or any other type of partner dance. It really is its own thing. And I think it really is because it has this etiquette that comes along with it. And I think it's kind of a mystery. Like you were saying, when you watch it, it looks choreographed almost. And I'm talking about the social dancing. And it's really its own language. And it's like you understand it if you speak the language. If I see two people speaking in Japanese, I have no idea what's going on, and to me it's like, oh my God. And it's the same with tango. It's this language that you learn. So I think tango communities are very tight knit. Although I will say, I think once people become aware of it, you can really find a tango community anywhere you go. People find tango people anywhere you go. Obviously, some places like New York City has a huge tango community. And I think people really do, it becomes, an obsession. A lot of people get into tango because they were doing some other type of ballroom dance. And then they're like, this looks interesting. And then the minute they got into tango, it was like, they just became fascinated with it, because there's so many like subtleties and etiquette and the nuances that can take years, to really master, or even not even master, just to kind of understand. I definitely will say in Argentina, the etiquette around, the milongas and the way people act is definitely still more emphasized and used. And the caboceo is, you're sitting down and you're looking around, and you maybe watch people dance and you see who you like to dance with, and then you make eye contact. So you make eye contact with someone, and usually the man will nod his head, and that's an invitation to dance, and you can accept it, or you just politely look away, and that means no. And so, and nobody else sees this exchange. It just happens between you two. So there's no awkwardness. And you know, it's funny, in some ways I really like it because I think that it's, you know, it's just part of the culture. It does take away some of that, you know, awkwardness, and you know, guy doesn't have to come over and interrupt your conversation. But it can also be a little bit frustrating because you'll be out and it's like you don't want to like make eye contact. Like, what if I don't want to dance? I'm like, I don't want to make eye contact with anyone and I don't want to be rude, but maybe I just don't feel like dancing at that moment. Or then if you want to dance, you're like have to be like looking. It's weird. And that is definitely much more like used in Argentina. In the US, some people use it, but it's much more common for someone to come up and ask if you'd like to dance. And I think it's also because the communities are smaller. So if you go into communities, like everyone kind of knows everyone in the tango community. So, you know, you're kind of all friends and you ask each other, whereas in Buenos Aires, you know, you've tourists coming to dance tango there and they have these big milongas and it's dark and, you know, it's, you know, much more enforced there.
So if you have a boyfriend or husband to go with, still okay to just stick with him, right?
Oh yeah, but here's the thing. So if you walk into a milonga in Buenos Aires with a man, for example, and I'm using the man-woman, I mean, that's something maybe we can get into later. Obviously, women do the leader role now, men dance with men, women dance with women, but the traditional, you know, tango roles, you know, the man and woman dancing together, you know, if I walk in with my boyfriend or even just a man, no, it will be really unlikely for a man to try to dance with me. I'm talking about maybe in Buenos Aires, maybe here, not so much, unless they notice throughout the night, he's dancing with other women, I'm dancing with other men, like maybe we're just friends or maybe we're, you know, but if we're only dancing with each other and somebody notices that, they probably won't ask me to dance. There's some milongas in Buenos Aires that are a little more traditional. Like there's one even where the men and the women still sit on different sides. And it's, everyone knows that that's the traditional milonga and you go and everyone gets dressed up and, you know, unless you're, of course, if you come as a couple, like they won't make you sit apart, but like, and that's kind of why people go to get that experience.
Do you see, you know, any kind of cultural, social elements that are impacting the tango dance and music today, you know, like contemporary, like influence?
Yeah, I mean, like anything, of course, there's certainly been an evolution. You know, just talking about the etiquette and the culture, you know, it's nice to keep certain traditions, but there's certainly an element of the man traditionally leads. And even within, when you dance, it's called a tanda, which is usually 3 or 4 songs. So when you accept a dance with someone, you kind of are locked into 3 or 4 dances with them. It's not like you just dance one and leave. And then after those 3 dances or 4 dances, the DJ like gives like a little break and then you can go and not that that's like machismo, but you're kind of locked in, you know. Obviously, I mean, I've had my experiences where if someone is being inappropriate or, you know, you feel uncomfortable, you can excuse yourself and not finish the time. There has been an evolution for sure. There's definitely, with obviously feminism and women's movement and, you know, all of that, there's been a whole kind of, you know, shift in the respect, the equality. There are milongas now, you know, where, you know, I think I just read something, a woman, she started this milonga, I forget what it's called, but it's, you know, kind of emphasizes like women leaders, like women doing the leader role. They have queer milongas, you know, for men and women, men dancing with men, women dancing with women. So there's certainly been a huge shift. And even, I mean, there has been a history of violence in tango, and that has definitely, a lot of light has been shed on that. Just abuse, physical, emotional abuse. I think there has been a huge, you know, evolution and shift in that. And in terms of like music, you know, there's a whole movement, you know, it's called Tango Nuevo, which is, you know, different musical elements kind of, I mean, I'm not an expert at this, but there's a modern element to the music, Tango Nuevo, and it's also reflected in the style of dance, where traditionally you dance on a close embrace. In Tango Nuevo, you dance on an open embrace. So your bodies are farther apart, your movements are bigger. So there's definitely been an evolution in the, you know, the style of movement and the way it's viewed in the world. Yeah, but I think there is something nice to keeping, you know, some of those traditions, the good ones. We'll keep the good ones and do away with the ones we don't need.
Thank you so much. I think we went through the questions, right?
Thank you.